have a dream. I have a dream where everyone who has received Jesus leads someone that they know to Jesus. Where those who partner with us in mission have the privilege of actually baptizing their friends. And the very first time that we get introduced to them is actually at the day of their baptism. Where the salvation of an individual wasn't due to good preaching or a program, but a personal encounter with Jesus that was set up and arranged by you, our people. I have a dream. I have a dream that people will strategically move into our neighborhood. That when deciding to relocate, they don't do it with the best school or the greatest profit in mind, but they go to where they believe Jesus is calling them. And instead of moving to more desirable homes, they go where God desires them to make an influence. And when we look at a map, we have people on mission in each neighborhood and apartment building and complex within a 5-mile radius. I have a dream where our gatherings, both small and large, reflect the diversity of our community. That when someone comes to a Sunnyside event, they see people like them, who look like them, who talk like them, who have the same struggles or been through similar situations, where the broken and the hurting, the searching and the struggling are drawn to this place and this people. I have a dream where we are prepared to meet the greater needs of our ever-changing community around us, where we go to our neighbors and use our facility to help others encounter Jesus. Sunnyside becomes the epicenter for social connection, hangout, and refuge and fun for our community. I have a dream where we don't just support global workers abroad that we know of, but instead we send people from our church. We prepare them to go to the nations as we continue to be kingdom-minded. I have a dream where our people know the Spirit's voice and are recklessly obedient to Him. Where we have an unparalleled level of integrity, grace, and unquestioned morality without hypocrisy. Where parents take a proactive role, not in just bringing their kids to church, but bringing them up in Christ and discipling them in the ways of Jesus. Where ministries of all sorts are started by our people, not our pastors, and they spring up as extensions of our ministry and our mission. Where churches from all over the country contact Sunnyside to inquire how to join the movement that God is doing through our church. I have a dream where people come to Sunnyside not because of great preaching or good music or even friendly people, but because we are on mission and they want to join the movement. I have a dream. Good morning and welcome to Sunnyside, where we are a people following Jesus to those not yet. Now, if you're just joining us, you might be thinking, what in the world did I get myself into? All right. I got to tell you all that this is a safe place to come. But more and more as we deliberate what God is wanting to do in and through us, it's also a dangerous place to stay. Because what God is wanting to do through us, and make no bones about it, He's doing some incredible things. He's moving in our midst. He's causing some things to surface within us. He wants us to not stay the same. So it's a safe place to come, but a dangerous place to stay. And over the past couple of weeks, we've been talking a lot about movements, and we've been doing this by re-examining our missional framework. So we've been talking a lot about our plans for movements and why we can't be satisfied with where we are or where the American church happens to be right now. But we also know that you need more than a plan. You need to paint a picture of where we are going and what it will look like. And so that's exactly what I got a chance to do at the beginning of this message. See, this past week I asked our staff to weigh in to this vision and dream a little bit with me. And so I asked them to go away and ask the Lord, what are some of the things that you see? What are the things that you picture? And so what I just shared with you was a conglomeration of the visions, the dreams, the pictures that we as a staff can see that will happen when we start accomplishing the mission of this church. And here's the deal. We're not the only ones that should be dreaming dreams or having visions or painting pictures. If you are a partner with us in this mission, in this ministry, then we want you to dream as well, because this is our vision. And I got to tell you, when I share those things with you all, I get I get excited. I get a little bit amped up. And so if I talk a little bit fast today, it's because that's where I am, because I see these things. I start to see some glimpses of God doing those things in our midst. And I just can't wait for him to continue to show us the way. Now, I've been using a diagram over the past couple weeks to be able to help us process through important things that are pertinent to us being able to accomplish this vision. Now, these are at your tables as well, but you all can see this kind of diagram, this graph, and this might not make a whole lot of sense to you. It might be a little bit complex. And so in your mind, or maybe in your conversations, you might be thinking, Corey, why does this have to be so complex? Why does it have to be so complicated? This is what I want you to know about us diving into the strategy behind all this stuff, is I'm not trying to make this more complicated for you. What I'm trying to do is offer some clarification, because we have a real clear destination of where we want to go, and we're painting a clear picture of the vision, but the how to get it done is how this missional framework plays into what we're trying to do. You see, I can tell you, hey guys, I want you to meet me up on Pikes Peak. And the destination is very clear, but there's a lot of ambiguity in that, right? But if I was to say, hey guys, I want you to meet me up on Pikes Peak in a month, and I want you to come together, and I want you to do it on foot. Now all of a sudden you're able to make preparation. You're able to understand what you have to do in order to be able to get there. Some of you guys are going to have to work out before you start that journey, okay? And so we know what you need to be able to do to get there. That's exactly what we're trying to do with this missional framework. We're trying to create some context to which we go, okay, this is where we want to go. This is how we're going to do it. And these are some things that we're going to do to get this thing moving. And so over the past couple weeks, we've been talking about this framework in terms of mission, which is at the center of what we're doing. We're a people following Jesus to those not yet. And we talked about our model, which is the middle of the framework. Our model is not any better than anybody else's model, but what we're saying is we're clarifying what we are actually trying to go out and what we're trying to accomplish. And so we as a church follow an Ephesians 4 model of ministry, which says that we are going to equip and empower those who are already following Jesus, so that they or you can actually go to those who are not yet following Jesus and help them to encounter Christ through you, and then engage in their faith in a church, and hopefully our mission if they're coming to this church. And so that's our model of ministry. Well, today we turn our attention to the outer ring, which is called the methods. Okay, so the outer ring is our methods, and really, I'm not going to belabor this a whole lot, but the methods ring is actually broken up into two different things: platforms and programs. We at our church, we try to think about things in terms of platforms more than programs, but both of them fit there. And what you see actually written around these outside are the platforms that actually exist in almost every church model at some level. You just have to figure out where you want to place these platforms. And so for us, we have our large gathering, what you're sitting in here now. What we've determined is a primary focus for us on our Sunday morning gatherings is to help you guys engage and then be equipped. So that's kind of where that falls. And then you have this groups, which overcomes equip and empower. That's the small groups. And you have person to person. That's more of the mentoring and the coaching realm. And then you have this personal discipleship or devotion kind of realm as well. And so each one of these are platforms that we use to be able to cause our model to work and ultimately our mission to happen. Okay, so, and this is how we've placed them here at our church. Other churches may do it differently. In addition to that, we have programs, and programs are what fit inside of each of these things. Now, here's what you need to know about platforms and programs, or about methods in general. Methods are actually the thing that we should hold the lightliest, that we should hold on to the least. But sometimes our methods are the very thing, the ways in which we do stuff, that they're the things that we actually hold on to the most. Because for a lot of us, it was like that program or that event or that thing that meant so much to me, I don't want to let that thing go. But this is what Andy Stanley says. He says you should marry your mission, you should date your model, and you should be friends with your methods, okay? Because really, these are the things that should constantly change based upon the people that we're going after, the times and the culture that we happen to live in. Things change all the time, and therefore, the ways in which we go about them, our platforms and specifically our programs, they should shift and they should change. We should try a bunch of stuff and see if it sticks. That's how we should do this. And so really for us, that's what we are trying to do in our methods. We're trying to try a bunch of stuff and see if it sticks. You know, years ago, after already having great success in the comic book world, a guy by the name of Stan Lee, have any of you guys heard of this guy? Yeah. He was asked to create a new superhero, and he came up with the concept of Spider-Man. Now, what you need to understand is this. The initial reaction to his concept of Spider-Man was not met with a whole lot of hope. Matter of fact, everybody that heard the idea thought it was a terrible idea. I mean, after all, no one likes spiders. This is not a good thing. You want to make a superhero out of spiders. Nobody likes them. Secondly, wall crawling is not really like a superpower. It's kind of creepy, you know? And so, like, what good is that going to do? In addition to that, there were no teenage superheroes at this time. There were sidekicks, but there were no superheroes. And this particular character had personal problems. Superheroes don't have personal problems. This was a bad idea in the eyes of the people that Stan Lee initially proposed this to. How many of you guys have seen the new Spider-Man recently? Yes, good. I love it. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Great show. Y'all should go see it. It's pretty awesome. Love it together. Okay. Most recent studies suggest that Spider-Man here is by far the most popular superhero worldwide. More than Superman, more than Batman, more than anything else, all right? Like, this guy right here is the most popular superhero worldwide. And they said Spider-Man wouldn't stick. Did y'all see what I did there? That was good. Okay. Sometimes it's just for my own amusement. All right. So here's the deal. I tell you all that to say this. Sometimes you got to throw stuff against the wall and see if it sticks. You got to try some stuff. And for us, we think that our mission matters so much that we're not going to get pigeonholed into a certain way of being able to do things. Matter of fact, we're going to try stuff, and because we're willing to try stuff, we're going to fail. There are going to be things that we do sometimes, concepts that we initiate, things that we experiment with, and they just won't work. And we're okay with that, because what we're going to do is we're going to learn from that. And then some of the things that we actually do, they're going to make it along the way. We're going to see some success in that. And we're going to put some gasoline on that, and it's going to help us propel the mission all the way to what we want to be able to happen. Okay? So what we need to do is we need to make moves that start movements. If that sounds familiar, it's because it's a commercial from Hennessy, and I stole it from them, all right? And I'm not trying to promote whiskey or the NBA, but I love this statement, okay? Make moves that start movements. Because movements don't just happen overnight, and they don't just happen by one big initiative. They happen by small things. They happen by trial and error. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to make moves that start movements. And so let's figure this thing out together. Let's take the direction that we have, but it's going to take all of us, and we're going to have to try new things, and we're going to have to keep our eye on the goal in order to be able to keep this thing moving forward. And so this year, go back to that missional framework for me. This year, what we're doing, there you go. What we're doing is we're actually focusing in on this particular section. This method, if you will, it encompasses the equipping and the empowering. Our whole 2022 is really about focusing on following Jesus. Now, ultimately, we want to follow Jesus so that we can go to those not yet, but if we don't do a good job of following Jesus, then we won't do a good job of reaching those that are not yet following Jesus. And so this whole next year, we're really going to hone in on this particular realm of our model as it pertains to our mission. And that leads us to this last week of our movements series. Over the last several weeks, we've been framing our missional framework within this context of movements, because make no bones about it, the Church of Jesus Christ is a movement more than it is an organization. Okay, more than it is even a group of people. It is a movement of God that he's choosing to use us to be able to continue to move this thing, and it always has been. And so sometimes it needs a little bit of jump start, sometimes it needs a little bit of reevaluation, but it is a movement of God, and we are on that path. We want to jump start that again. We want to get involved in the flow of the movement of God. And so what we've said is over the past couple of weeks, the first thing is movements need a mission. You need to have a real clear picture of what you're actually going after, because if you don't know what you're going after, then you'll divide and you won't conquer, because you're going to be all over the place. We've been defining that mission more and more, clearer and clearer, as much as we possibly can for you guys as it pertains to this church and the mission of God. Okay, so movements need a mission. Secondly, movements require ownership. Because you need more than just clarity. You need people to buy into that. And so those of you that have been coming here to Sunnyside who know what our mission is, what we're saying is we will not accomplish our mission without you actually stepping into this and saying, I own that along with you. I'll help you figure this thing out. Individually, I'm stepping up and saying, I am a person who is following Jesus to those not yet, so that I can be part of the people that are doing that, right? And so we've been asking all of you guys to consider yourself and think of yourself as partners in this mission alongside of us. So that's what's required to start a movement. But if you want to see a movement sustained, you need to know that movements are realized together. Movements are realized together. You don't get anywhere far or long or through the difficult things without doing it together. There's an old African proverb, you all have probably heard it. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. You got to go together. And I think that we understand that at the basic premise of this because we've all probably experienced this to a certain extent. I consider myself a fairly self-motivated individual, and people might even consider me to be driven. But what I've learned about myself is that as much as I enjoy initiating things, I oftentimes have a problem with consistency. I lack consistency on my own. I need to enlist others around me if I want to stay the course. And I tend to get more done and I tend to fulfill my promises. I tend to achieve my goals or persist amidst challenges whenever I bring other people into what it is that I'm trying to accomplish or do in my own life. It just happens that way. As a matter of fact, a while back, I'd made a commitment that I wanted to be a reader. Now, you all need to know, like, I'm terribly slow. I learned, English in Kentucky. That's not a very good help, and so I'm a really slow reader. I need a lot of time, but I read somewhere that, like, leaders are readers. Really, I think leaders are learners, but reading is a part of learning. And so I'm like, I'm going to commit to doing this. And so I decided that over the course of a year, I was going to read a book a month, and I was going to challenge myself to do that. And so I set off on this journey, and I got started really quickly, and I started asking some other people. I was like, hey, what are some good books that you want to read? So I compiled a whole list of books, and I put it on my calendar. I kind of set the dates, and I got started off really strong with this. The first 3 months, I was killing it, right? But then I started getting distracted, and other things started becoming a priority for me, and that kind of waned. And ultimately, I got through 3 months, and that was it. Like, I didn't continue on. I didn't finish out the year and the goal that I wanted to accomplish. I failed at what I was setting out to do. About a year later, I was asked to join a group of men called Joshua's Men. And this group made a commitment to read a book a month and then to get together each month and discuss this over a meal. Yes, it was a male book club, okay? But we read manly things, and so it was all right. And so it was the same commitment. It was a year-long commitment. How many books do you think that I read that year? 12. At least 12. What changed? I did it with somebody else. Same goal in mind, same process, same understanding of what I wanted to try to accomplish. The difference was that my commitment to learning was now partnered with proximity to people. See, you probably have stories like this as well in your own life. I probably don't have to convince you much of this because you've probably experienced this. No matter how self-motivated you are or how strong of a will that you have, you know this about yourself. You always do things that matter the most better when you do it in the context of other people. You just do. And so for maybe you, it was a running club or a diet that you enlisted other people on, or maybe for you it was a Bible study or a book club that you were a part of, or maybe for you it was kicking a bad habit or overcoming some kind of addiction. On your own, you struggled. Maybe you had some successes, but ultimately it starts to wane. But when you enlisted other people into this, you found greater degrees of success. Because that's how we're actually wired. That's how we are made. You may not know this, but you're actually created for community. We as human beings are actually designed to do life together with other people. That's how God has actually designed us. We get a glimpse of this in the opening chapters of Genesis in the creation story. I love this. When you read chapter 1, it talks about God's creation kind of in this overview, and it was all good, and he created man, and it was very good. But then all of a sudden in chapter 2, he zooms in, and it's as if there was this divine pause where God wants to make sure that we understand something about how we were created. He doesn't have to do this, but he chooses to do this to make sure that we understand. Because for the first time in all of creation, God says something is not good. He looks at man, and as he zooms in on this, he says, it is not good for man to be what? Alone. Now, I don't know about you all, but if I was the God of all creation and I was writing this story, I'd probably just leave that part out, right? Like, I don't want to let people know that somehow there was something I did wrong. That's not what God's doing here. He's not letting us know what he did wrong. He's letting us know how he created us. And he says this, he says, let us make man in our own image, because the God who is one is not alone. He exists in Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And for him to create something like us, and for us not to have the same kind of community that he created for us, but to be in the image of the very nature of God, he understands that we need people. We are actually created and designed for community. And so he establishes the very first relationship, the relationship of marriage. And then he goes on to create and design these other relationships meant for community, this parent-kid relationship and friendships and neighbors and the church. All of these things were created. And not only were we created for community, but especially when you look at the church, we see that we were purposed for proximity. Purpose for proximity. All these things were created for our benefit, but also for God's purpose. What I want us to do is actually, I want us to take a little intermission here from our teaching, and I'm going to allow the Word of God to actually teach you. And so what we're going to do is I've got these 5 verses from the book of Acts. The book of Acts is the Acts of the Apostles. It's kind of the telling of the early church. I just chose a few of these, but what I'm going to have you do is around your table, and we've got some Bibles that are there, I want you all to actually read these out loud together with some people around your table. What you're going to do is, as you read these, I want you to look for the ways in which the early church gathered together. For what purpose? How did it produce something out of their gathering together? And so if you happen to be at a table by yourself, or you just have a couple people and you want to go join some people, or you're up in the top, I want you to join somebody. I know this is a stretch, okay, because that means that you're going to have to get out of your individualized, self-comforted seat, okay, and be with somebody. Somebody else go join you, but I want everybody to do this together with somebody else. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. Go ahead and do that right now. All right, guys, I'm going to bring you all back in to this bigger conversation. Thank you so much for doing that. I saw several of you all move into other tables. I really appreciate you doing that because I think that there's power when you are able to get together. Now that you all have read together, what I want to do is I want to hear from you. In those 5 verses from the book of Acts, what were some of the things that you saw the early church do together? What were they? They gathered together. Certainly, they got together. They ate together. They prayed together. That's a consistent thing you see all throughout the New Testament. They studied together. They took action together. That's a good one. They proclaimed their love of God together. They were actually empowered by the Holy Spirit together, and their boldness grew together. That's a great one. When we see them getting together, they cared and shared together. They worshiped together. They encouraged each other when they got together. One of the ones that you all probably caught, and you might have had kind of a difficulty being able to see it happen, but they burned books together. I don't know if you all saw this or not, but it's like, let's go burn some stuff together. No, what happens is they overcame addictions. There was freedom from bondage. And when you see people doing that, that are doing it successfully, then all of a sudden it gives you the courage to be able to do that together. Now, I just gave you like a few verses in the book of Acts. But honestly, when I was doing my research for this, I was blown away. And I already know how much of an emphasis this is within the scripture. I was just blown away by how often you see this idea of togetherness or one anotherness or getting in proximity to each other throughout the New Testament. Let me give you just a few more of these for you. Matthew 18, Jesus says, "For where 2 or 3 gather together as my followers, I'm there with them." It was actually a prerequisite that Jesus makes. He's like, when you actually get together with other people, my presence will be there. That's what I promise you. In addition to that, in 1 Corinthians, it says, all of you together are Christ's body. Each one of you is a part of it. Christ's body is actually represented by us when we get together. It's an amazing thing. We see Jesus in Mark, he corrects people together, his disciples together. He gives instruction to his disciples together. The early church resolved conflict together. They celebrated together. They make decisions with one another in proximity to each other. They keep each other accountable together. They work together for the mission. They strengthen each other together. And they stand together and fight for the faith together. These are all things, and this is a sampling of what you see in the New Testament. I would challenge you to read through the New Testament and not see the togetherness all around there. It's as if you can't talk about the church without speaking about proximity. You just can't. And guys, I'm telling you, as a church representing what God is trying to do in the movement of the church, we've got to get better at this together thing, especially within our Americanized constructs and with some of the limitations and difficulties that we experience in our culture right now, because the church is purposed for proximity. We cannot and are not supposed to do this faith thing alone. Movements can't happen alone. Movements are realized together, and we are a part of a movement, guys. You see, some of the most important things we do pertaining to our faith is done with others. It's what makes what we do more powerful. It's what makes what we do more meaningful. It gives us persistence and encourages consistency. It makes us accountable, and it keeps us from veering or straying from that which is true. We've already seen a bunch of the things that the New Testament church did together, and we see the importance of that. Yet, in our individualized, independent American culture, we tend to emphasize the importance of personal faith, albeit even private faith. And I've got some issues with that. And I don't know if these are just my own issues or these are things that like spur on a little bit further, but let me allow my issues maybe to become your issues. Because I think that sometimes we need to be shaken up out of our own Americanized view of what Christianity looks like, to be drawn back to the scriptures and be able to see how this actually plays out. Let me clarify what I mean for you, okay? Everyone needs to make their faith their own. There's no doubt about that. Jesus died so that we could actually have a personal faith in him. But our faith in him was never meant to be lived out privately. It was always meant to be lived out in the context of other Christians. So a personal faith, yes, but not actually a private one. And unfortunately, I think that we get that wrong more than we get that right. And because of that, we actually suffer the consequences and we lose the momentum of the movement because we're constantly trying to do our faith journey on our own. Let me give you kind of a for instance of this in the early church. You see, in their day, there was no such thing as personal Bible reading. I don't know if you all thought about this before, but in the early days of the church, there was no compilation of the scriptures. That didn't come until after AD 300 when everything's, the canon of the scriptures actually get compiled. And so for a few hundred years, and you could argue the greatest growth of the church movement, people couldn't study the Bible on their own. If they wanted to know what Jesus had to say, if they wanted to understand the apostles' instructions, they actually had to get together to be able to hear the oral stories, or to be in the presence of somebody who had a remnant or a scroll of one of the authors that actually represented the gospel or the letters that were being written by Paul. You see, they had to get together in order to be able to study and hear the word of God. That was just the first few hundred years until about the 1500s. The Bible wasn't written in languages that most people could read or understand. And so people were actually left to scholars to actually be able to offer some interpretation. And so they had to go to places in order to be able to even hear that. And so Martin Luther and guys like him, they made an effort to start translating the Bible into common languages in order for people to be able to read. But even whenever it was being translated into languages that were common to the people, most of them didn't have it in their hands. They didn't have a copy of it. They had to wait for the printing press to be able to catch up and start to create a circulation that allowed them to even have access to these things in their own hands and in their own homes. But catch this, even when they had access to it in their own hands and in a common language, the literacy rate was so low that most people couldn't even read it on their own. You see, the idea of personal or private Bible study wasn't really a possibility for the majority of people until recent centuries. I don't know if you all catch that or not, but for the large majority of Christendom, for the large majority of the movement of God through the person of Jesus Christ, the only way to be able to study the Word was to be able to do it collectively together. And now we have it in the palm of our hand in multiple translations and languages, right? It's available to us, and some of us still neglect the fact that we can read it, right? But just because it's available to us doesn't necessarily mean it's better in private. There is a time for personal and private study, no doubt about it. But in my opinion, the Word was actually originally designed to be read together. For most of the existence of the church, the Word has been read, understood, and obeyed together. See, I love reading the Bible on my own and with groups of people, but I find that I gain more and I read more often when I do it with others. As a matter of fact, every morning that we get together as a staff, our staff gets together and we do a D1 reading together. That's the first thing that we do in the morning. At 9 o'clock, we get together and we have this reading time together. And what I find is that there's so many benefits to doing it. It creates consistency. There are shared learnings and insights. People keep you from getting too far off in your theology. There's learning to hear from the Spirit as we learn to hear from the Word. It produces points of obedience where we go, yeah, that's something I need to do. And now that I've shared that with somebody, now I have some accountability that I should actually do those things. You see, this is true for how the early church and how even the church today, I believe, should read the Bible in context of togetherness. But it's not just about the Bible. Prayer has more power together. Many of us have experienced that. Worship has more awe together. Fasting carries more weight together. Serving shows more of Jesus together. Baptisms have more celebration when they're done together. The gospel grows bolder, shared together. You see, there are times to do things independent, but when it comes to our faith and this mission and the movement of God, there's no doubt about it, we are better together. We're better together. We need to get better together. We need to sit together a little bit more, even in a room like this, so that we can start to get to know each other's stories and to get to know what God is actually doing in each other's lives. We need to gather together outside of the context of a Sunday morning. We need to be able to do some groups together. This is one of the reasons why we are making groups and following Jesus our primary focus for this year. Because we understand that we've got to get better at doing these things together if we want to see the movement of God continue in our day and through our church. So one of our major efforts to help us get this jump started is that we're asking everyone who can make a 10-week commitment to a rooted group to do that. And so I'm saying everyone who would certainly call this place home, but certainly if you happen to be a person who you consider yourself a partner with us in mission, we are asking you to make a 10-week commitment to a rooted group. And so what we've done is we've actually recruited 20 different leaders that are going to meet on various nights, all in a variety of different locations all around the city so that we can accommodate as many people as possible into these groups. And some of you might be wondering, what do you mean by rooted? Okay, rooted is simply a simple and sound curriculum that will help set the foundation and some rhythms in your life to help you better follow Jesus together. Okay, that's what rooted is. Groups, again, is the vehicle, is the platform, if you will, that we're saying this is one of the most important things that you can do is to get in these smaller groups, because it's in that context for us that we are going to be equipping and empowering you the very best we can. You see, there is some equipment that comes on a Sunday morning like this, but if you really want to be geared and empowered to be able to live out your faith in the context of your neighbors and your friends and your coworkers, I'm telling you, in our model, it's going to require you to get into a group. And I know that can be intimidating for some of you, and I know maybe some of you all have had some bad experiences. I also know that there are a lot of difficulties with schedules and sicknesses, but I'm asking you to make a 10-week commitment through the end of March, and I'm confident if you do that, it will be worth it for you. And so, just so you guys know, this is going to be for everyone, regardless of where you're at in your faith. Some of you guys might go, this is like my first time to church. I don't even know who Jesus is. This is for you, okay? Some of you guys might have been following Jesus for 50 years. And you're going, I've read the Bible 10 times over or 20 times over, 100 times over. Guess what? This is for you. Okay, this study is going to benefit you regardless of where you find yourself on your faith journey. And what you also need to know is that we're putting our full support and our strongest recommendation behind this, and we want everyone to participate. Who do we want to participate? Does that include you? Yes, it includes you, okay? And so I'll be sharing a few more things here in a moment about what that means and how much information or how much emphasis we're placing on this. But this is one of those things that I was telling you earlier that we're trying. We're throwing some stuff against the wall, and it's not haphazardly. We've given a lot of thought and dedication and resource towards this, but we're going to try it, and we're going to see how this works, and I guarantee that at the end of the 10 weeks, it's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit your faith. It's going to benefit our mission. And so what I want to do right now, before we kind of transition into some time, I want to share a little video with you guys that I got to introduce you to some of the leaders, the 20 leaders that have actually made themselves available. Some of them are going to be meeting in homes, some of them are going to be meeting here, but I want to introduce them to you guys so that you can see some of the groups and the nights and the options that you have. So take a look at this.
Hi guys, my name is Eric and I host a men's group on Wednesday mornings starting at 6 a.m. I know that's early, but we can get it done and get going before work, and we serve breakfast, so you can't beat a deal like that. It's for men of all ages. If you are interested, give me a holler, shoot me a text, email, whatever, or you can see me on Sunday at church. Love to talk to you about it.
Hi, Sunnyside. My name is Deb Schaefer, and I have the great privilege of leading our Wednesday Women's Connect group. We meet every Wednesday from 6:15 to 7:45. We're a group of women of all ages, and we share our lives and our hearts with each other. So come be a part, and let's get rooted together.
Hi, Sunnyside. I'm Donna.
I'm Doug.
And we lead the Military Life Group at our house 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday nights.
We would be excited for you to join us this winter in our group for Rooted.
Dinner provided.
Hi, my name is Beryl, and my group is going to be meeting at the church at 6:15 on Wednesdays. Childcare is provided, and I'm just looking forward to meeting you and developing relationship with you. So I hope that you'll come check us out.
Hello, church family. We're Dawn and Eric Badiger, and our group meets Sunday nights from 6:30 to 8 in our home.
We like to practice 1 Thessalonians 5:11, which says, encourage one another and build each other up. And that is why we would love to have you come join our group.
Hello, we're Jerry and Benita Nottingham. Come to join our group on Wednesday nights for the 10-week sessions.
And we'll be meeting here at Sunnyside Christian Church at 6:15 every Wednesday night, starting January 19th.
Hi, Sunnyside. Chris and Amanda Cooper.
We invite you to join us in our home on Tuesday nights up in Forest Meadows in the northeast part of town
for the Rooted Bible Study.
Hello, my name is Deb Balico, and Amaris Bullock and I lead a women's group that meets on Sunday morning, 10:45 in room 105, and it's for women in their 20s and 30s, and we would love to have you come join us if you're interested.
Hi, come meet our humans, Sandra Akeley and Tracy Sloatman, for our small group of all the single ladies. We meet Thursday night at Sandra's house. Please come join our humans. You'll have fun.
Hi, Sunnyside. I'm Alex Cooper, and this is my wife, Tessa.
Our group is meeting on Tuesdays at 6:30 at our house here in Fountain, just to provide an opportunity that's on the southern end of Colorado Springs.
Thanks. We hope you'll come check out our group.
Hi, we are Jonathan and Christina Phillips, and we're facilitating the college and career 18 to 24-year-old group right here at Sunnyside, Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment in the section below. See you there.
Hi, I'm Dan. I'm here to invite you to my place in Peyton, Colorado for the Rooted group. I would be the leader out there. We are going to start at 6:30 p.m. End it around 8 o'clock, and it's on a Saturday. So if you're interested and want to do that, want to join me out east, you can sign up online, or hopefully I'll see you, my church family, there on Sunday. All right, thanks.
Hi, Sunnyside family. I'm Anita, and I'll be facilitating the Rooted study Mondays at 10. Let's connect.
Hello, Sunnyside. My name is Kristen, and this is my husband, Ramsey Ross.
Welcome. We live in the west side of Colorado Springs, Pinion Valley, nestled up against the foothills of Ute Valley. And you are welcome to join us for Rooted on Wednesday evenings from 6:30 until 8 p.m. We'd love to have you join us. Take care.
Hey Sunnyside, my name is Jason, and this is my wife Jill, and we would love to invite you to our Rooted group.
Our group will meet Monday night, 6:30 to 8 o'clock at our house.
Our group is labeled for 30s and 40s with kids. However, we would love to invite anyone that would like to join us.
We can't wait to see you all on Monday nights.
Hi, Sunnyside. I'm Terry Humphrey, and my husband Dwight and I will be leading a group for Rooted on Wednesday nights, 6:15 to 7:45. We're doing it Wednesday nights because if you have kids, it's the perfect place for kids programming. And the kids programming here is outstanding. I've only heard good things, so you should consider joining our group. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, Sunnyside. My name's Colin. This is my wife, Taryn.
We're hosting a small group Tuesday evening, 6 to 8, and dinner will be provided.
Our house is just a few blocks away from Sunnyside, so we'd love to have you join us.
Hi, I'm Marty. My wife and I, Linda, would love to have you join us Thursday night right here at church at 6:30 to join in on the Rooted study at Sunnyside Church. So we'd love to have you come join us. Please don't hesitate. We'd love to have you.
Hi, Sunnyside. We are the Rabbit Trail Bible Study Group.
And our leader is Rich Wilson.
We meet Wednesdays at 1 p.m. in room 103.
You're welcome to join us.
Yeah, give it up for our leaders. Our leaders are making a huge commitment in this regard, so we greatly appreciate them. But if you can't tell, like, this is a big deal for us, all right? We put a lot of time, energy, and resource getting some of these incredible leaders to be able to lead this, and we want you to be a part of it. And some of these people were like willing to bribe you for that, like they got dinner and childcare and everything else, you know. So honestly, we're trying to be able to create as much of a variety of this so that it fits into your schedule. I know that's always a crazy thing, but I want you to try to make a commitment. We've got groups that meet kind of on all the corners of the area geographically, some that are in homes, some that are here, some that are like catering to a college-aged group, some of them that are an older age group, and so we want you to be able to find your fit, but get involved in a group. Commit to the next 10 weeks, and I believe this is one of the most important things that you could do. As a matter of fact, let me say it this way just to make sure you all hear from me just how firmly I believe this. I hope that you don't have to choose. But if you had to choose between showing up here on a Sunday morning for this gathering, this particular platform that we do on Sunday mornings, or making a commitment to the 10-week Rooted group somewhere, I would tell you to choose the 10-week Rooted group over the next several weeks. And as much as I value this time that I get to spend with you on a Sunday morning, the next 10 weeks in that group is honestly going to benefit you. It's going to benefit your faith. It's going to benefit our mission and the movement of God more so than anything that happens on a Sunday morning here. And so just allow that to be just kind of an additional means of emphasis. And so what we're going to do here in just a moment is I'm going to dismiss you guys to go out to the lobby. We're going to have this big connection event. All of our groups are going to be represented out there. If you're not already in a group, we want you to go out and figure out the best group for you. We actually kick off our groups this coming Wednesday, the 19th, so it's coming up really quick. And we're all going to gather together on a Wednesday night here for the beginning, and then we'll be dispersing to different locations and nights of the week for the rest of the 10 weeks. And so there's a cost. I just want to make sure you all know about this. There's a cost to be able to be a part of this. It's a $25 cost. That includes the workbook and a t-shirt to be able to join. This is what we know about the cost. When you charge something to make a commitment, it always causes people to lean into it further. And so there is a cost to be able to do that. You don't need to pay anything today. We'll be sending out a registration link for that. However, if that is for some reason a difficulty for you financially, you cannot make that work, please do not let that be the reason why you don't do a rooted group. We will figure out a way to help offset the cost of that group for you, okay? So just know that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to send you guys out with a verse from Ephesians, and we're going to go outside to the lobby. Make sure you stick around, ask any questions if you need clarification on stuff. Myself or Krista will be out there. We'll be happy to help you. You could talk to one of these groups. And so let me send you off with Ephesians chapter 3, this prayer that comes from Paul. He says, I pray that from his glorious unlimited resources, he will empower you with inner strength through his Spirit. Then Christ will make his home in your hearts as you trust in him. Your roots will grow down in God's love and keep you strong. May this be true for you. And let us remember and go out on mission that we are a people following Jesus to those not yet. Have a great day, guys. Go be the church.